Boom. How are we getting on, lads?
Doing very well.
Are you? Well, fair play to you. How are you
Thank you
getting
very
on,
much.
John?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Well, I'm just dandy that you're here. John, for anyone who might not know you, how about you introduce yourself?
So, what's up? I'm John Ekstrom, coming to you from Denver, Colorado, in the United States. And I'm a podcaster, I'm an entrepreneur, I have my own business, and I'm sitting next to a diabetic cat, which I think is the most important part. That's why everyone's here, right? Let's talk about adorable yet diseased animals. So, my show is John of All Trades. I've been on the air now for 7 years. I have more than 300 episodes, and I won Best Denver Podcast in 2017. Had all sorts of people, including Kyle Gass from Tenacious D. I've had Jim O'Hare from Parks and Recreation. I've had Drew McGarry, who's a columnist at Defector, written for GQ, author of a number of books. Jello Biafra from the Dead Kennedys, and all sorts of punk rockers, entrepreneurs, uh, anyone you can name, hairstylists, tattoo artists, gun store owners, nonprofit folks, Wall Street guys. I love talking to people about what they do, how they do it, how they got there, and what makes them successful. And was introduced to you guys through Discussion Combustion, a couple of good-hearted dudes who I've done their show now, good God, 3 times. And they hooked me up with you, and I'm thrilled to be here. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Jesus, man,
They're
you've
good
been through it
lads.
all.
Yeah.
Wow. That diverse like list of guests is amazing, man. What what
Thanks, man.
what made you want to get into podcasting and choose this very niche kind of style of interviewing?
So,
So
no,
it's
hold on.
interesting.
It's hardly niche. This guy is interviewed everybody. Like, you got
That's what I mean.
a broad range of people.
Which makes my show impossible to market. I can tell you that. Because it's like, hey, if you like this show I did with this nonprofit about these two women who talk about foster care, you're also going to love it with this bass player from this punk rock band. Right. And so, like, it's hard to follow that red thread sometimes. So I need people to trust me as a host. It's like, no, I'm going to show you cool shit. I'm going to like ask interesting questions. I'm the guy you want to stand next to at a cocktail party because, and I had my best friend tell me this. He goes, dude, I love standing next to you when we're meeting new people because you know the next interesting question to ask to keep the conversation going. You're just naturally curious about people, and it's fun to listen to you talk to people about what they do. Because in America, I don't know if this is true in Ireland as much as it is, but it's particularly true in America. The very first question anyone ever asks you is, what do you do? So, like, people are typically, in a lot of ways, defined by their job here. And so that is sort of a natural outgrowth. We define ourselves through our work. And so I was always curious about that. And if we can get to the heart of that, then we're doing good work because we're building more empathy in the world, which is to say, if we understand each other through that lens, you're going to understand things in a more nuanced and sophisticated way. To answer your question, the reason this came about is my background was in radio. I did college radio, hosted the punk rock radio show every Friday night. And then I've been blogging on the internet for, good God, I'm so old, like for more than 20 years, and have written for music sites. I've written for professional wrestling sites. I've written for general interest sites. I reviewed HBO television shows for a while for this one site. And I had a friend who was podcasting, and this was back in 2012 or so, 2013. And he encouraged me to do it. He goes, look, man, you got a background in radio. You'd be great at this. He showed me how to do it. Quick plug for Brad Haig from the Real Nerds. Real Nerds podcast in Denver has been around fucking forever. And he told me what equipment to buy. He told me how to do it. He showed me how to get set up. And then, sure enough, my wife got pregnant. And I go, oh shit. If I actually want to start this thing, I got to do it now, because if I try and start after this baby's born, I'm never going to do it. So started to get good at it. Took those two skills, like skills in radio, skills in blogging, natural curiosity about people. And I go, okay, who do I know? And I had a bunch of interesting friends, and they were my first guests. And I just started interviewing them. They're like, hey, so can you show me your show? I'm like, no, I don't have one yet. Need you to kind of be the guinea pigs here. And so from there, man, we were off to the races. And like anything else, like you guys are doing, you build it one brick at a time.
Such as doing a podcast. Yeah, like with ourselves, we've kind of gone heavy. Like you're up to about 300 episodes now. I was checking out some of your stuff earlier on, but we're at about like 220, 230, and doing it a year.
230 episodes in a year. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, we get that a lot.
It was a long year,
Dude,
a
it was a long
really
year.
long year.
So how many are you releasing a week? That's an average of what? Good God, four,
Well,
five a
well,
week.
well, there was a
100.
period of time where it was every day for a solid month or two, I'd say. Now since we
No,
started college,
it was
it
140 days of 140 podcasts.
That's the lesser known part of the Bible, right? The
yeah,
140 days, 140 podcasts.
and then like it started raining for like 40 days or 40 nights. I don't know, man. You know,
Yeah,
but
well, yeah, that's the Noah's Ark thing. That's why you have Lent.
hmm.
Actually, the what are you going to give up for 40 days? So yeah,
but like yeah, it was 140 days, 140 podcasts, but now we're doing 3 a week. We're
okay.
sure, we started doing college and we thought we can't do this every day. Not if we're doing this shit as well. So
No, man, it's a monster that eats. I mean, I've been doing a show a week now for 7 years, and I mean that's plenty. I also produce other podcasts. Like I have 3 other shows I produce, and I was telling Thomas that I got another one I'm going to pick up here, and those some of them are twice a month, some of them are once a week. It all kind of depends, but Jesus, when you're doing it this much, it's my dad likes to liken it to it's kind of like being married to a nymphomaniac where it's really fun for a while. You go, hey, this is great. All right, this is super fun. And then after a while, you go, holy shit, like this again? Like we're really doing this again. So yeah, no, I get it, man. My hat is off to you. That is a remarkable workload. Well done.
It's
yeah.
good fun. It's not work if you're having fun. But I suppose I asked this question to lads from DCPC when they were on. May as well ask yourself: do you think it's too late to start a podcast, especially in a style that yourself and ourselves do?
Is it too late to start a podcast? I think it's too late for you to ask that question, given how many you've done.
No. Well, the point we had the last time was like, the idea of, well, I'll just go with my buddies. We'll all be shitheads and talk about movies.
Yeah.
That stuff might not do as well anymore because it's saturated as fuck. And I
Uh,
suppose you have a unique perspective as an entrepreneur.
yeah. So when I'm working with other folks or organizations or whoever who want to start a podcast, first of all, it depends on what you're doing this for. It's never too late to start a podcast. If you want to fuck off with your friends and just talk about movies and goof with each other and put it out there, do it. No one's stopping you. That's the beauty of podcasting. There's no barriers to entry. If you have higher aspirations than that, then I might find a more specific lane, right? Figure out what this show is, figure out what you want it to be, figure out why anyone should care and what your unique sort of insight or angle or entry point is into any given subject. If you can do that, I mean, the sky's the limit. There's always room for something good. I mean, put it to you this way. In America, there are roughly 9 zillion places that sell hamburgers. Yet that market will never, ever be saturated because everyone's always looking for a good burger joint in their neighborhood. There's going to be something that we all have that is unique to us. And maybe there's a unique take. Maybe you find a killer segment, like a way of engaging with any type of material that no one else can do. Like I do public speaking training as part of my day job. So I will help people get ready for any manner of presentation. I tell them, look, there's no template for a good public speaker. I'm not going to stamp a mold on you and say, hey, now you're a good speaker. It's about drawing out what makes you unique and what makes you good. So no, man, it's never too late to start a podcast. If you don't put any thought into it or you don't grow or evolve or whatever, or look for opportunity, then yeah, you're just going to be 2 dudes farting, into a microphone.
That's it. Yeah. I suppose you have a better perspective on it there. I think that the last time we had the lads on, we just kind of came to the conclusion, maybe. But no. I guess we kind
That
of
was delightfully droll, by the way.
yeah. Well, look, it'd be a lot harder to do it now. Uh, like no one really goes out and looks for a niche podcast. You know, if you found us, you might have found us by accident. But you know, if you're like, I want to get into podcasting, you're gonna open up whatever you use, iTunes, whatever. Um, I don't even know if iTunes has podcasts. I know it's like Apple Podcasts, but you open the shit up and you see a bunch of podcasts. It's hardly gonna be like this fucking tiny niche boy, some lad off in Ohio talking about fucking crickets or something. You're gonna see Joe Rogan. You're gonna see the fucking Daily Show and whatever.
Well, dude, that's why you build it a brick at a time. Like, get word of mouth going. Like, go to the people you know because they're going to be the ones who are most interested in you. It's like any other PR campaign, right? It's like, hey, you know us, you like us. Hopefully, I mean, hopefully the people in your circle like you. Give us a shot. Here's what this show is. Here's why it matters. Here's why we think it's unique. Give them a shot to like it, and then say, hey, would you give us a like on social media? Or hey, would you share this with a friend? Like, email it. If there's something, like, get word of mouth going that way. Yeah, if you're relying on people just finding it organically, dude, that's a fool's errand. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But like anything else, use the channels you have and build it unconventionally, build it any way you can. Like, so yeah, if your goal is fame, yeah, dude, that's a long walk uphill. But I'd say it's not impossible. You just got to rethink the way you're doing it.
Fair enough.
I like the point you bring up there about like it's not a walk of fame, because a lot of people, you know, they think they make a podcast, man, and they're gonna get famous. Like they think, give it 3 years and I'll have Joe Rogan on my podcast, you know.
Right.
But like
Thomas,
it's a long journey.
I feel like we're speaking from a higher vantage point, but not like the highest there is, obviously. But you should told me something before. You seen someone on Twitter where there's a lot of podcasts talking about their podcasts. It's I have a lot of opinions on that now, but there was someone who'd been in a podcast for 5 years and it just reached 1,000 downloads. Like,
Oh God.
that's the level of stagnation that you can get to.
Yeah.
5 years, 1,000 downloads. You could have done that manually.
Like, just download the shit yourself again and again. Like, I mean, that's, yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Okay, put it to you this way. So I mean, this is sort of a uniquely American thing, but Major League Baseball has 30 teams. There are 25 guys to a team. At any given time, those are the 750 or so best baseball players in the entire world. You watch baseball, and how many times do you think to yourself, man, that guy fucking sucks? Like, I hate watching him play. You could do this with anything: soccer, rugby, fucking curling, whatever it is, right? The best players in the world, you're watching, you're like, how is that guy even here? He sucks. So it's like 20% of any profession, of any type of entertainment is any good. The bottom 80% is dog shit, right? Is terrible. Most podcasts, you go to their page, it looks like an abandoned strip mall where it's like, oh, we did an episode in January and then we did 2 in March. And like, then we kind of went on hiatus. We did 1 in July, and you go, what the fuck even is this thing? So like, if you take yourself seriously, and if you like treat it with the respect that it deserves, and the fact that you guys have hustled, man, I saw you guys had Bruce Buffer on. That's a conversation I would love.
Man.
And so like to that
Supposed to be on
extent,
for 5 minutes.
he was on for 5
40.
minutes.
He was supposed to be on for 5. He did 40 because he said midway through, "I'll tell you guys when I need to go." Dude, that melted my heart and my soul.
Dude, like that kind of thing. Like, so if you show yourself to be good, there are inflection points in anything that you're creating. And if you're not reaching them, you got to go back and re-engineer it. You know, you got to like tinker with it a little bit. So like for you guys, I imagine having Bruce Buffer on your show for that long, that tears you up just a little bit. Like, I got written in our daily newspaper here when I was about 50 episodes in. And that exposed me to a whole new audience. And then I started getting better guests, and then that levels you up. Then I became an official podcast at this film festival. And so I was getting better guests fed to me that way. And then I started appearing on other podcasts. So like this shit happens like organically, and it'll grow. So like if you're just putting it out there and not hustling it, not making connections, yeah, 5 years, you're going to have 1,000 downloads. Congratulations. You basically put a masturbatory self-love project out on the internet for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
What?
like we see. Oh, Andrew.
Mine's a long story. Go on.
No, please. I was gonna shit on Twitter podcast, but go on.
I was gonna say you brought up film festivals and your podcast. How do those two intermix?
So essentially, here in town, in Denver, we have the Denver Film Festival. It's a well-known, well-recognized, well-respected film fest. And one of the media contacts there wanted to include more podcasts. He knew of mine because he'd heard it a few times. I'd had some notable guests, and I was written about in the Denver Post. And he reached out to me, said, "Hey, I want to media credential you for this." I said, "Great." So I did that. And then I went and I spoke to all these different filmmakers. Started with a lot of documentarian guys, as you might expect, because my show is more sort of like business and process focused. And then as we went along, he would just feed me better and better guests because I proved to him, like, I'm not some Peckerwood jackass and I could actually like do a good show. And so he goes, "Okay, this is good. I want to filter better guests to you." And so it became this sort of like one hand washes the other thing, right? Because I get great guests, he gets great content that he can push out and pimp the festival. And it worked out nicely for both of us.
It's a good way of like getting yourself out there because I know you said you had like this thing with a newspaper wrote you in 50 episodes in. We just had the same thing happen about 215 in.
Yeah.
Like it took a
So
while
what
to
was that,
find
like
us.
3 months worth of shows? Like
In fairness, it was a year in a couple days.
it
Without
was
stuff.
about a year for me too, dude. It was about a year. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose for us it kind of made us feel a bit more legitimate. It have the same effect for you.
Yeah. When you get that third party verification where other people take notice of what you're doing, that's a unique and special feeling because you go, wow, okay, like someone is actually out there listening to it and enjoys it. Like you can look at your numbers all day, but until you sort of have that tangible kind of validation or verification, it still feels almost like an abstraction. And so, yeah, like getting written about by a newspaper, that's awesome.
Definitely unique. Like we've had people write about us before because of interviews we've done where someone said something controversial or they said something that they probably shouldn't have if they were like a voice actor or whatever.
Yeah.
So we've had that before, but some were just so close to us, recognizing that it was a thing. It's pretty interesting, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Enough, man.
So what,
Honestly.
you were about to maul Twitter there. Go on, I'm ready.
Yeah, no, just with the person I said like had like 1,000 downloads in like 5 years, man. That's not just like one podcast. Twitter is not good for promoting podcasts. It is fucking terrible. Like we can see where most of our views come from on our channel. Like to be perfectly honest, like external, like But I think we had like a month where Gmail we had more views from Gmail than Twitter, even though we
Perfect.
don't promote on Gmail, believe it or not.
We had more views from Gmail than Facebook, Instagram, and it was something else combined. It was one of the big ones. Facebook,
Twitter, I
Instagram,
think.
Twitter combined.
Mm,
More from Gmail. Like it was 2%. The rest were like 0 point blank, 0
Yeah.
point blank.
yeah.
Yeah. So
For me, with my public relations
not a fan.
brain, the social media channels are ass and are largely pointless, but they're kind of must-haves because it shows that you have thought about this in a way where you never know where someone's going to find you. They need to have the ability to share it. So it's almost like checking the box of legitimacy at that point. Unless you are on a super high plane, because I think about the shows I listen to, I don't necessarily like them on Facebook. I don't follow them on Twitter. I don't like that's not how I engage with the show. I just know like I know I like it and I know where to find it. But if you go to one of those places and it's like, "Oh my god, they don't even have this set up." You go, it almost looks like amateur hour.
Mm.
That's something that it's the whole amateur hour thing. I've been looking at our shit and I'm just thinking like, we look like idiots sometimes at the amateur shit. You had my camera flicker a second ago. We used to just do it like a Zoom template Now we're using OBS. I know some people move to StreamYard to try to get some kind of background stuff going. You'll see after how this actually looks. It doesn't look like a standard Zoom call, but there's so much shit to do when getting your podcast set up. Man, it's mind melting. Like we used to use Skype and think that the like 1 megabyte per second connection was good enough. Yeah, and then like our buzzing mics. But yeah, I suppose you have to start somewhere. When you look back on your first episode, how do you look at it? Mine is red face embarrassment.
um, Boy, I haven't thought about that episode in a while. So I launched with 3 episodes. I had 3 in the can, and because I wanted people to show up to my site and have it looked a little bit more fully formed. So I launched with 3 of them, and I haven't listened to them in a while, but the last time I did, I'm like, my God, your production is fucking terrible. And like I was interviewing people live, but I was bad with the levels and like making sure everything was normalized and optimized. And my intro was rough because like I do an intro that I record solo, and the spiritual predecessor of my show are 2 things. One is Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, and the other one is WTF with Mark Maron. And if you listen to the way that my show is structured, the template is taken right out of Maron. Well, he spends the first, like, it's endless, but like the first 15 minutes just riffing about whatever. And I thought, oh, I have a lot of opinions. I'll do that. And so I was just riffing about like this hipster grocery store that's in my neighborhood that I really like. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what is this show? Get to the goddamn interview. Like, that's what this is supposed to be. And so over time, I learned to cut that down. And now my intros are tight, get them done. But for a while, I thought I needed to be more of a personality. But I'm like, dude, I'm not a comedian. Like I'm funny enough, like in my real life, but I'm not like a professional comedian to where this stuff that I'm saying is going to be interesting to anyone, even me. I listen to it back. I'm like, dude, even I'm bored and this is my life. And so like you think back on that and you go, oh, okay. So I was just learning at that point. I was growing. I feel fine about it. I don't feel great about it, but it's where I was at the time, man. And it laid the foundation for what I wanted. I knew, like, I had the template and the format kind of right out of the box. I had that right away. But as far as technique wise, yeah, pretty amateurish.
Yeah, which is what happens. Your first editing's gonna be terrible. Like, I don't know, the first time you make an omelet, it might be stuck to the pan.
Yeah.
Even for me, like my 300 omelet was stuck to the pan, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's part of the beauty of podcasts too, because very few people are listening in the beginning anyway. So you're kind of failing anonymously for a while. And eventually you just get better. And if you work at it and you listen to it and you take feedback and you're honest with yourself, you'll get better at it. And eventually you'll get good enough to where other people go, man, you got a good show. And the first time you hear that, you go, nice. All right. Well, shit, that's not just my mom or whoever saying that.
What was that like for you the first time?
What was that like? The first time it felt real was probably when I got, well, 2 things. One was the first time I ever cold pitched a guest, right? So you guys have someone that you want to talk to, right? And you send them an email, you go, here's our show. Here's why I think you should be on it. You write them a pitch email. The first time I got someone to say yes was a big deal to me. And that was episode 16. So that was like 4 months in. And his name is Jason Heller. He's won a Hugo Award, which is one of the biggest sci-fi awards you can win. He's a sci-fi writer. He was writing for the AV Club at the time. He has a couple of books out, and like this history in punk rock. He was someone whose work I just deeply admired. And he goes, yeah, I'll be on your show. And I go, whoa, dude, okay, I got a real show. And then probably the second time was when that writer for the Denver Post reached out to me. He goes, yeah, I've listened to your show a bunch. I'm like, what the fuck, man? You're like a real reporter. And so the first time I heard that, yeah, I go, okay, I got something here. And what a feeling. And then that was immediately followed by a little bit of terror and dread, because it's like, oh no, okay, now I have this real thing. And that means the expectations are a little bit higher. So you set the bar higher for yourself. So you got to get better at production. You got to make sure your shit is clean and tight and that you're hustling it. So it was rewarding, but then it was immediately followed by, oh no, I'm not just doing this anonymously anymore.
Just to go back on your first episode thing there, when we get comments of people going to our first episode saying, "Oh, I'm gonna see where like it all began," I'll go to the comments and be like, or here's a recommendation I can give you. Watch this interview, which is fucking a million times better. Just try that one out. But then I'm like, Jesus, I can't believe you guys sounded like that. I'm like, yeah, but shit,
See
man, yeah,
very
when the
well, but behind me there's a little DSLR camera. Yeah. On top of that, there's a little microphone. That was the first microphone I used for this. I got the toner one right now, but I had to hunker down to the computer, which is like way below me. I had to go really nice and short to get to like the little output down here. So be stick it in a drawer and talk down like this to it. But
Oh, that's a good look too.
dude, I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, that
I'll get
no,
back
that
up,
that
but you get the point.
yeah, you totally look like a pro that way when you're like hunkered down low like that, and it looks like you're like a crocodile with like the water level here just sort of peeking out over the camera. Yeah, that's funny.
Kind of wonder what's going on down there. Am I eating a sandwich or what am I at? But yeah, when you start, you use what you have, and good luck. Good luck. Imagine trying to start it on like a mobile phone. I know people. If you look up like how to start a podcast, people have all these videos of like use your phone to start off. Just make something. My advice is hold on a little bit.
I
You could
yeah,
have it
I
better.
mean
How
that's
good's your
one way
phone?
of doing it. Sure. I mean, well, okay. I'm of two minds about that. One, if you're going to do something, do it right. But a lot of people will kind of put the cart before the horse too, which is to say, I have an idea for a show, but I'm unsure how to get started. And I go, you just got to start making the thing. Like literally, you got to start making the thing, and you will like it's kind of like building a plane while flying it. But the other thing is like people will go, I have this idea, but I don't know what equipment to buy, or I need to buy hosting, or I need to get a domain. It's like, look, all that shit's just excuses. Yeah, take some time, like research it, do it right. But don't let that hold you up, because if you dither on that forever, you're never going to make the thing. Just get some equipment, do it, and then learn as you go and level up and you'll do fine.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose I've known many a guy who's done YouTube or something before, and they'll kind of put like the equipment barriers in their way, and then give up. Like I
Oh
can't
yeah,
do it unless I have blank. Yeah, it's
totally.
unfortunate.
And that's one reason I like the guys at Discussion Combustion so much is they came to me early on in their run, and like they asked me advice, and so I gave them some advice because I'd been at it a little bit longer than them, and then they actually took that advice and they're crushing it, man. Like their YouTube views are like
oh, they're
through the
incredible.
roof.
They're
Like
incredible.
just and I told them, I'm like, look, I'm not a fan of video podcasts either. You got to figure out a way to make this dynamic looking, and because it can look like fucking surveillance footage where like you basically just have a security camera in a room and it's just people talking. That's not exciting in the least. Some people watch that, and that's fine, but they got a switcher, they live edit it, and man, those guys, like, they're good, they're going places.
Yeah,
I think they got
seriously,
a
they are.
rocket ship on them.
I I see the views increase like from 10,000, 11,000, 20,000. Our video with them got to 13,000, and I was like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
I reckon they're gonna blast off at some point. They're just kind of getting there. Well, all they need now is kind of like the mixture of posting at the right time when everyone's online, and then having a guest that catches the attention. They get that, man, they're up. Because it's no easy task to be getting like 11,000 views per video.
No, no, man. I mean, the shows I do with them do like, I think they average about 12,000. And I'm like, dude, I mean, you guys are surpassing my podcast. I don't have any video component. And dirty secret of mine, I stopped tracking my analytics. I no longer give a shit because I don't like, I know about where I'm at and the show does for me what I need it to do. And so like I have my costs covered through my sponsor. Um, and I have a bunch of reasons for this that I'm not necessarily going to get into on the air, but the show does what I needed to. And I find if I focus too much on the analytics and on the download numbers, it makes me crazy in a really unhappy way and in a counterproductive way. So eventually I just turned all that shit off.
Yeah, yeah. You're better off this sometimes. We had to go with that for a while. We were doing exams in college, and the views were just fucking awful. Just dude, like I'd look at it every morning and I'd be like, Thomas, what are we at? And I, it took like I think every day for nearly a month plus. We've just been doing like a ridiculous amount of advertising. Like we'd go on Reddit, we'd have a post ready to go. If we had a guest from say Resident Evil, like we did yesterday, post in there about we had this character on blah blah blah, or I don't know
Clips or just posting
yeah
anywhere and everywhere that'll take us really. Uh,
please yeah
but I guess we're, I don't know, smaller. We care about that stuff more than you might. Whereas I don't know. I mean,
Well, here's the thing, man.
you seem like you're cool with it, what you do, and you kind of, it doesn't really affect you that much. Whereas us, it's like
so just
fucking
start.
Well,
everything.
Thomas, here's the other thing to remember. I've been creating shit on the internet for the last 20 plus years. And I've seen the ebbs and flows of it. And I found over time when I'm chasing numbers, my content gets shittier. When I'm just doing, when I'm kind of going more by instinct and being open to opportunity, I tend to do better. And so if I can free myself from that, because it'll eat you alive, like literally, it'll make you neurotic when you're thinking about the numbers too much. It can be all consuming. And I've been there before. And I've found, and it's hard because I want to, I'll be honest with you, it's like quitting smoking. I wanted to like look at my numbers every single day for a while. But I found the more I did that, the unhappier I was. So that was a personal choice for me. When you're in the process of building something, like my show's a little bit more established, and I have to look at the numbers for the other shows that I produce because there's different metrics and things that we have to do for that. But with my own show, like I'm at a place where I don't really need to, because I know what I have, I know what I can do, and I have enough baked in credibility using other metrics. And I'm not trying to sell ads either. That's the other thing, because if you're trying to sell ads, the advertisers always want to look at your numbers. You know, what kind of audience are we reaching here? Because they're giving you their money and they want to get some return on their investment. The fact that I'm not trying to do that means I don't have to look at my numbers. So
Handy.
Yeah, I suppose it can be as complicated as you make it. Yeah, I know that feeling though, like, but eating you alive. Because doing exams in college, just looking at the numbers go like as low as they were, I was like, "What's going on here?"
it's hard to focus on anything else too, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, it's a weird one.
Then
But
there's the comments, man. We've got some fucking shite comments,
we get
and
some
I don't
great
read
ones too.
I don't read them anymore. Like I used to read a lot of them, but like I just kind of, I think it's better to just shun them out now. Because there was nights, man, where me and Jerry couldn't sleep about how
Well,
much
listen,
people were telling us to kill ourselves.
there was listen.
It's not a joke.
You make it sound like every single night we're getting mauled because we had
Not every now, but like
the actor behind Robbie Rotten on, stuff like that. You know, we had a flat Earth guy on. This is where this all started.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
DCPC is supposed to have him on as well, and then he chickened out basically. Um, so we had him on. We bet him. In fairness, I don't know how many times we had to do it. We went topic by topic. We'd pages of notes. We nailed him every time, so we'd move on. But he wasn't happy with it, so he posted on Facebook, and he got his guys to go and watch it. And his guys were like, he's pretty established, so these people came on and were like, "Fuck you guys, you got it wrong." Blah 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 blah. And we got 1,000 comments in a night. In a night. And it all started right before I was about to go to bed. So we couldn't sleep. Basically, we were just sitting there like, oh god. But we Thomas was a good lad about it. Okay, in fairness to him, to get back at the lads, what he did was he turned the ads on the episode up as high as they went. So we made bank off that episode.
Yes.
People were like viewing it just to like support Dave. They were chatting shit in the comments, and then we were having a good time with it. But that was only once. Normally we get brilliant comments, people who are very interested in the people we've had on, because we have some diverse, amazing people on, and people just want to see more.
Well, dude, here's the thing about that. So in like 2008 or 2009, I founded this old site. No, it's no longer online, but I wrote an article goofing on Jeep Wranglers, right? Which is, a fairly unremarkable car in a lot of ways, but has this super dedicated weirdo fan base following. And so I wrote this thing about how Jeep Wrangler people are largely douchebags, and a certain subset of them. And it was all kind of in good fun. It wasn't a big deal. And it wasn't until like 2 or 3 years later that someone found this article and posted it, I suspect, in some sort of Jeep forum. And all of a sudden, the traffic on this one page just went through the roof. And everyone, like all these angry Jeep owners, just started commenting and just saying terrible things about me and stuff. And I read it and I'm like, what is happening? Like this one page, it was getting probably 10 new comments a day for like a year. And so you never know exactly when something is going to blow up. And that's largely out of your control. Once you create the thing, you create it to whatever extent you have control over it. Once you release it into the world, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to everyone else. And then sometimes it takes on a life of its own. I'm sure the White Stripes, when they wrote Seven Nation Army, didn't know that every soccer match on the planet was going to chant that during every single game.
Yeah, it's or same with like what's it the Queen song that everybody does now at all the concerts. We will rock you, right?
Will rock you.
Yeah, like I didn't think they'd have any idea of writing that shit, that it would be like probably like the most well-known song ever.
Yeah, it's up there.
Weird,
Listeners only know like a certain part of it. You see it in when people are shouting like we will rock you, and then it goes beyond that point, and it's just about half the people have just stopped talking. Yeah.
You're gone. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah. I don't even know where to go from there. All right. So you're an entrepreneur as well. So I mean, how do you start? Do you get sick of working for other people?
I've never done well working for other people. I realized I thought about this, and I've said this on my show a bunch of times, but I had a problem with every single boss I ever had except for one. And I realized at some point it's unlikely that I just got that unlucky string of bosses, because some of them were great people, very nice people, but I just bristled against authority. I fucking hated it. And so I go, oh, you know what? The problem is me. And so like I am better off working for myself. And the relationship, so I don't have one boss right now. I have like 6 clients. So I have a half dozen bosses that I all report to. But that relationship is a little bit more transactional. We're not married to each other. Like they know what they're paying me for. That's the beginning and end of it. And that's a much more comfortable relationship for me. So I'd been looking to leave for a long time for my corporate gig. Took 14 months for a variety of reasons. And eventually the company was going through a financial downturn. And I thought, if I stick it out long enough, maybe they'll pay me to quit. And so they did, which was great. I got severance. I got 3 months of severance. And my goal was, look, I'm going to be making more money per month by the time this severance runs out than I was working in corporate. And so no matter if you want to leave, no matter what the other extenuating circumstances are, getting laid off will put a chip on your shoulder and it'll light a fire under your ass. And so I went out, I hustled, I met people. My work ethic was renewed because I was God, especially at the end there, I was just phoning in my effort. And I was like daring the internet to bore me every day at work. And it, I was like rejuvenated when I started working for myself. And now the fact that I get to be my own boss, I feel like I'm getting away with something. Like it's crazy. What a feeling, man. Just being in charge of yourself and having agency to affect change the way that you want to. And I realized I'm wired for anxiety anyway, man. Like I have anxiety no matter what. In that company, that started to manifest as existential dread, where I hated going into work every day. And I was just like, I had the blues all the time. I was always down. I I wouldn't spend more than 1 second than I had to thinking about this job. And that's not fair to anyone because there's other people who work there, there's people who depend on you. And if you're putting in that little effort, that's shitty for everyone. Um, so where my anxiety takes me now is if I have anxiety, it's like, okay, what am I not doing? Because it's all on me. What email do I need to send? What call do I need to make? What people do I need to meet? What business do I need to chase? What new thing can I create? What new direction can I go? And it spurs me to action. And that is super rewarding. It's a much more fulfilling way to live and also a better channel for my anxiety.
All power to you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
I can imagine, stuck in something as boring as what that sounds like, then having the opportunity to do whatever the fuck you want. You want to take today off, you do it. You know, you want to work extra hard because you got something coming up, you do it. Must be liberating.
It is. It's not for everyone because not everyone is that self-directed. You got to have that within you, and if you have that within you, then yes, I don't know that I could go back and work for anyone else ever again. That just unless I wanted to, it'd have to be a really really special situation. But people ask me like, do you work more now that you work for yourself? I don't think that's true, but I definitely think about it all the time. And I'm never actually done with work. Like I've reframed the way I've thought about this. I've never done with work. There are just times where I choose not to do it.
I can see that,
It's good to
especially
have
like
the option.
working for the like working on this podcast is that work is never over, but at the same time you can take a Saturday off, but
Yeah.
on
Can
that
you?
Saturday night you can make a thumbnail. No, 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 no. I was only messing. This is hypothetical, Jerry, please.
Yeah.
But like, you got that option, man. And now that you have that option, I'm happy for you, It's cool. It's awesome.
Thank you. It's been 6+ years now.
Well, fair play to you, sir.
Shit.
But yeah, we're gonna give this no close off because I know you're a busy man. So if people want to check you out, where can they find you, John?
So lots of places you can find me. Uh, the podcast is John of All Trades. So that's John JON of all trades.us. I'm available on podcatchers everywhere. Like I said, more than 300 episodes. I have some episodes that are not numbered. And I'm on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, now on Pandora. Just recently got accepted there. On iHeartRadio, and then whatever other podcatchers you're on. I'm also on social media. The handle is the same for all of them. So that's JOAT Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Pinterest, and Instagram. Instagram is where you can find photos of my adorable diabetic cat. And then the other one just popped in here. He sleeps in the other chair under the hashtag worst coworker ever. And then if you're interested in my company, that's Deft Communications, DEFTCOM.us. I do all manner of traditional public relations, and I'm also a podcast producer. I've consulted on more than a dozen shows. I'm currently producing 4, which includes John of All Trades, and I got another one starting up in August. So that tiny little empire continues to grow, and it's great. So those are the plugs, man. I think those are probably the best ways to find me, and I'm deeply appreciative of you guys inviting me on the show and giving me the chance to tell the story. It's always fun to do it.
Thanks a million to you. But yeah, with all the stuff you got going, like, 'cause you're a fucking busy guy. I'd love to see where you are in 5 years, like just to see how everything progresses, especially with all the podcast stuff you got going on.
You
So
know, Jer, likewise, back at you because you guys, I consult on a ton of podcasts and some of them don't go anywhere, right? But you guys have already done more in a fucking year than most people will do in a lifetime. So where this goes from here, I'm fascinated by, because I mean, you've told me you've slowed down the pace just a little bit, but seriously, the clip at which you guys are creating and the connections that you make and the hustle that you have, those are qualities that you cannot teach. And if you guys keep that up, I think the sky's the limit. So more power to you guys too.
God, you're right. Because we're going to keep at it. There's no slowing us down. Even with college at the moment. So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, if you want to find John, you know where to find him. Take it, Andy. Good luck. Bye bye. Stay away from yourself.